Now, Diva, you said some stuff about Morocco that I didn't agree with. This is not America. This is El Morocco, El Mexim, El Maghrib. This is not North America. This is El Mexim. We're going to get into it as we go into Who Were the Moors, Part 2. Let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Yes. Q&A. Five, six, seven, eight. Yours truly, Diva Reed, in the house rocking with you for the UNA University, UNA Republic. Let's do this today, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Oh. Come on in. Let's do this. We're going into Who Were the Moors, Part 2. Who Were the Moors, Part 2. I want to invite anyone who wants to join us today. All right. Send a message and we'll try to get you logged in if you want to ask any questions. Halo. Diva. Once again with UNA University and UNA Republic. Check us out in the link in the profile. And I want to say hello to everybody. Hippo, Joselle, Ricky, Raviki, Mary. Thank you. I want you all to say hello so that I know you're there. We're going into some history today. Who were the Moors? Who were the Moors? And who are the Moors today? All right. So we went into that a couple of days ago. You all should still be able to catch that session. It's listed in our lives section. Today, we're getting into it because one of the things that I went back to is the Columbus time, and even before that, just a little bit touched on that in understanding who's who and the fact that there were several different melanated groups in this land that were fighting and still are fighting today. So we want to get into who's who and what's going on. Now, I'm going to do a brief recap of what we got into our last session so that we can understand what's really going on in this land when we're talking about who were the Moors and these titles. All right. So just a brief recap. We dealt with there were the original people of the land. All right. They were called Indians at one time. There was another group of elite Moors, not necessarily from Morocco, but a particular group of melanated people who were sailors that came into the land of the Americas and started creating the governments we know of as counties today. All right, this is after Columbus time, 1492. So not only did these elite Moors come in and start developing counties, you had another group of Moors that we know of as British, okay? Now let's understand this. The term Moor does not have anything to do with skin color, even though that's what everybody's telling you. That is not what the case is, all right? The term Moor means someone who does a job on a ship. And what happened is the vast majority of Moors in those days, and we're going to go over it and be able to see who these people were. They were dark-skinned. They were melanated people. Okay, but there were Albion Moors. Albion as in light-skinned or so-called white. They're not white, but that's what people like to call them, or they'll call them European. But let's be clear that the original Europeans were dark-skinned people. All right, when you're talking about Europeans, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli, Morocco, and all the other ones, Britain is included in there. So those were also dark-skinned people. All right, so now we're getting into this. Now, going into, again, you had your elite Moors, and I call them elite because they had a high knowledge of information, esoteric information, all right? And so they knew how to run governments as well. So they came in and started creating what we know as counties. The British came in and started creating what we know of as the states, all right? When you talk about the British colonies, those were owned by Britain, all right? And so what ended up happening is you've got these three groups of people. Your original people who were melanated. You got your elite Moors who created the counties. Then you got your British Moors who came in and they started creating what we know of as these colonies or states today. Look up the Virginia Company. Once again, I tell you to look that up because that is where the same company you know of as the state of Virginia today. It's the same company. All right. So I won't go into detail because I don't have a lot of time. I got my students that's supposed to be loading in today. But what I want to do is make sure I just recap so you understand. Those are three different groups of melanated people in the land, two of which came from somewhere else, Britain and Morocco. Now, Britain and not Morocco, but the elite Moors, because Moroccans are not really even in the game at this time. When we're talking about the 1777s, this was all about these elite Moors in the land and Britain. What happened was the elite Moors that. But I want to go into is also, let me bring in the Albion. The Albions, who were they? Okay. These are not people who were running anything. Remember, we talked about it was these elite Moors who came in and created the United States of America. Why? They also created the Declaration of Independence. Read it, because what it's telling you is why they wanted to get rid of Britain and British rule in this land. And it's because of the things that Britain is doing to this day. All right. All right. I'm freezing up. If I'm free, is anybody in the house with me? Do I need to restart this? Hold on for 1 second. All right. Do I need to restart it? Are we good now? Let me know if we're good now. All right. I'm going to restart. 1 second. Okay. All right. So let me just reiterate what I've started saying. All right. I'm going to reiterate what I've started saying. All right, so bottom line, we talked about your original people of the land, your so-called Indians. These are melanated people. When we do our research, we'll recognize that the Washita Moors, Mours, are known as the oldest living beings on the planet. And they supposedly came from the land that we know of as Lemuria or Mu. That's where the term Moor, M-U-U-R, comes from. Then you have a group of elite Moors that came into the land that started dealing with what we know of as counties today. All right. So they created these counties, and the counties, the purpose of the counties were to count things. They counted the people. They counted the land and the things that the people claimed they owned. That's what the purpose of the counties were. And these were established by a group of melanated folks that, again, I call elite Moors because of their high level of knowledge, not only about esoteric information, but governments as well. Then you had the British who came in and were contracting with the original people of the land. And we have treaties on that. And I'm going to give you this website real quick, unarepublic.com/docs, DOCS. Go there and check it out. All right, go there and check that out because there's a list of treaties there. And if you really want to know what was going on between the original people and the British, go check those treaties out. Read them in their entirety. Don't read a little synopsis, but read them in their entirety. All right, we're going into the Albion. Who were they? So-called white people. Where they come from? Now, there was a group called the Barbary companies. Look up the Barbary Company and find out who owned that. Britain owned that. All right. And so who were in those that organization? All right. Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli, Montezuma. All of them were a part of that, and it was owned by Britain. All right. And they were trading with each other. And this had been going on since the 1500s and possibly the 1400s. All right. So he got these groups. They have already teamed up. Britain and Morocco. When I say Morocco, I'm talking about that green star on that red flag. I'm saying to you that they had been doing business. Now, when we're talking about the Barbary companies, what were these people doing? Well, they were known as pirate states, and they would go and kidnap people from different lands, including Sicily and Ireland and Italy, and they just go and kidnap them. And most of those were Albions they were kidnapping. And then they would ship them in and sell them in North America and Morocco and other places. All right, so now when I'm talking about Albions, look up white cargo. You gotta understand, we've been made to think that when you hear the term slave, the first thing you think is melanated people in some chains. Well, that's not how that went down. The original slaves in the Americas were Albion, and I want you to look up the etymology of the term slave. This comes from the terms Slavic and Slovakian. All right. And so the deal is that those were light-skinned people. They weren't melanated folks. Those were your original slaves. And they were kidnapping these people as children, Albions as children, and bringing them into the Americas. All right. So now we're understanding, we got Albions in here. We got your British, your elite Moors, and your original people of the land. All right. The other thing is that when there's that revolution, during that revolution, again, the United States of America or the elite Moors successfully kicked Britain out. But once Britain got kicked out, then they called in Morocco, who was their partners. This is why Morocco wasn't nowhere around. You do not find anything in history before 1786 talking about Morocco in the land. You don't. Why? Because they would not tread on anything that was being owned by Britain. So Britain and Morocco had a treaty before all of this. But once the United States of America or these elite Moors kicked Britain out, then they called in Morocco to close up the ports of the United States of America and just to war with them. All right. And so once that happened, then this is when Morocco comes in and starts seizing the ports of the United States of America. This was in 1886 to 1889 when Christopher Columbus comes into play. You got to understand who he was. He is a direct descendant, or was a direct descendant of the Queen of England, who was melanated. Now, he wasn't supposed to be president because there was the original people of the who created the United States of America, stated specifically there would be no royalty. If you were king, queen, prince, princess, duchess, anything like that, then you were not eligible to be president. And so by doing away with that amendment, Washington was able to sneak in as president. And from Washington on down to Obama, everybody who's been president has been related by blood. The royalty took over. All right. I want to say hello to everybody. Nostalgia, Ife Tayo, Sunset Beach. Thank you for joining. All right. And so now that we have done a recap and we're understanding who's who are these people in the land, who the Albions are, who these melanated people are. Again, I say to you that Britain and Morocco have been doing business. This is why when you see that Moroccan flag flying next to that United States flag, you see two people who are not of this land, once again, trying to take it over. They're still in partnership. Now, I need to go into this because I need to deal with the fact that names are contracts. Names are contracts. And when you take on a name, whether it be Indian or black or white or African American or colored or Negro or even a minority, you are agreeing to a contract. The same goes when you turn over or call a land a name. Now, I need this to be made clear because we are so confused and discombobulated that we call ourselves all kind of stuff. You got Moors talking about they Moabites, and then you got another group talking about they Hebrew Israelites, and then you got all kind of other groups telling you to call yourself, whether it be Moor or Moabite or Asiatic or whatever. The problem is that when you take on these titles, you need to recognize you're taking on a contract. And if you don't know what that contract is, you're better off making up your own contract than sitting on one that you are clueless about. So I need to go on something because I'm going to go into some of these contracts and titles. But I need to go into this because some people have some question about, the original people of the land and who, whether or not they were Moors or what have you. I'm gonna go on something, and I'm good. I got a little fancy going on. Let me see if I can pull it up. All right, we're gonna go on this. I want to pull up this notice. Let me see if I have it. I'm going to pull up this notice. Where is it? This is the document of the original people of the land. And you can go to unarepublic.com/docs. I don't know if you all can see this that well. All right. But I'm going to read. I'm going to read it really quick. This is the original people of the land who were talking to those who were running the United States of America. And the thing is that they were trying to settle or actually communicate with the United States Congress or the Congress of the United States of America, but they were being ignored and they were being trampled on and killed by those who were running the United States of America. I need to make it clear that those who were running the United States of America, and this is in 1786, they actually are the ones who degraded. They degraded the status of the original people of the land from Indian to colored, black, and Negro. This is the original. Those who was running the United States of America, which were elite Moors, are the ones who degraded the status of the original people. So here it is. You have people who have come into these people's land, pretended as though they were being friends, but started ignoring them. Now I'm gonna go through this again. You can pull the actual letter up on the site I gave you, unarepublic.com/docs, and you can see it for yourself, read it for yourself, but I'm going to read it real quick here. Speech of the United Indian Nations at their conference council held near the mouth of Detroit River between 28th November and 18th December 1786. All right, present the 5 nations, the Hurons, Delawares, Chickawanees, Ottawas, Chippewas, Potawatomis, excuse me for butchering these names, but Tavichwis, Cherokees, and the Wabash Confederacy. All right, to the Congress of the United States of America. Now, this is when they start talking. Brothers of the United States of America. This is the so-called Indians talking. The United Indian Nation. It is more than 3 years since peace was made between the kings of Britain and you. 1 second. He just said, it is now more than 3 years since peace was made between the kings of Britain and you. Now let's take a look at this. Remember I told you this is 1786. That means this started in 1783 or 1782. And here the original people of the land trying to communicate with those who were running the United States of America Congress. All right. So it's been 3 years since peace was made between kings of Britain, this is Britain and the United States, those who run the Congress and you. But we, the Indians, were disappointed finding ourselves not included in that peace according to our expectations. For we thought that its conclusion would have promoted a friendship between the United States and the Indians, and that we might enjoy that happiness that formerly cultivated between we and our elder brethren. So originally we was brothers, we were cool, but all of a sudden now y'all won't even communicate with us after you all have made this deal between you and Britain but left us out. Okay, we have received 2 very agreeable messages from the 13 United States. So they have written the United States, and the United States say, oh yeah, we cool, we good, we agree with you. We also received messages from the king, whose war we were engaged in desired us to remain quiet, which we accordingly applied. During the times of this tranquility, we were deliberating the best method we could for a lasting reconciliation with the 13 United States. Pleased at the time, we thought that we were entering upon a reconciliation and friendship with a set of people born on the same continent with ourselves, certain that the quarrel between us was not of our own making. They thought that it was somebody else causing a quarrel between the United States of America and the original people of the land. All right. In the course of our council, we imagined we hit upon an excitement or an agreement that would promote a lasting between us, a lasting friendship between us. All right. So brothers, it goes on to say, and I won't read the whole thing, but this whole thing is great. Y'all download it. Brothers, we still are of the same opinion as to the means which may tend to reconcile us to each other. We still are of the same opinion as to the means which may tend to reconcile us to each other. And we're sorry to find, although we had the best thoughts in our minds during the before mentioned period, mischief has never before happened between you and us. meaning we were always cool. We're still anxious of writing our plans of accommodation into execution, and we shall briefly inform you of the means that seem most probable to us of effecting a firm and lasting peace and reconciliation. The first step towards which should, in our opinion, be that all treaties carried on with the United States in our part should be with general voice of the whole Confederacy and carried on in the most open manner without any restraint on either side, and especially as matters are often subject of our counsel with you, a matter of the greater importance of the general concern to us. In the case, we hold it absolutely unnecessary that any sessions, the former giving up, it means any sessions, any giving up rights of our property, of our land, should be made in the most public manner and by the united voice of the Confederacy, holding all partial treaties as void and non-effective. So what he's saying is that there were some treaties that were made before that were partial. We didn't agree to that. We didn't agree to give up our land. These people are telling you it's their land. Not one time in any of this document does it say anything about Al Morocco, Al Mexum, none of that. Al Maghrib. No, it didn't talk about a sultan of nobody. It didn't say we giving our land up to some foreign entity. No, it's saying this is our land. We gave you permission to be here. You're being disrespectful. You're giving our land away and you're talking about some treaties. We didn't agree to these treaties. We didn't sign these treaties. All right, brothers. We think it's owing to you that the tranquility which since the peace between us has not lasted, and that the essential goods has been followed by mischief and confusion, having managed everything respecting your own way. You kindled your council fires where you thought proper without consulting us, at which you held separate treaties, and have entirely neglected our plan of having a general conference with the different nations of the Confederacy. When we're talking about Confederacy, we're talking about the so-called Indians. All right, so what I'm reading, and I want to welcome everybody, go to unarepublic.com/docs, DOCS, and you can pull these documents down yourself. This is the speech of the United Indians Nation at their Confederate Council held near the mouth of Detroit between 28th of November and the 18th of December, 1786. All right. This is the original people of the land that are having a conference or trying to communicate with the Congress of the United States of America. As it says here, you can pull it down. It says to the Congress of the United States of America. These are the United Indian Nations of the Confederate. All right. So basically, what they're doing is they're just trying to communicate with these people, because they're saying, hey, we've given you permission to be on our land, and you are making these treaties that we haven't agreed to. You're giving our land away. How do you do that when we didn't give permission to anybody to do that? All right, brothers, notwithstanding this mischief that has happened, why is this important? This is important because of the simple fact that, again, there were some elite Moors running the United States of America. When you look up the Continental Congress and who the presidents were before George Washington, those are the people these Indians are writing to. And they're saying, this is our land. We had treaties. We thought we was brothers. We thought we were cool. Now y'all are ignoring us. Let me continue. It goes on to say, one moment, I want to find my place here. Brothers, we think it's owing to you that the tranquility which since the peace has not lasted, and that essential goods has been followed by mischief and confusion, having managed everything respecting your own way. You kindled your council fires where you thought proper, without consulting us, at which you held separate treaties, and have entirely neglected our plan of having a general conference with the different nations of the Confederacy. If you're hearing this, is basically stating how they're telling the United States of America Congress that you have been very disrespectful. You just you followed mischief and confusion. You did everything your own way. You kindled your fires wherever you felt like you wanted to. Had this happened, we have no reason to believe everything would now have been settled between us in a most friendly manner. If you had just given us the opportunity to have a conference with you and sit down with all of the different nations of the Confederacy, then we would have been able to handle this in a friendly manner. Now, we did everything in our power at the Treaty of Fort Hanwicks, and you can look that up, Treaty of Fort Hanwicks, to induce you to follow this plan, as our real intentions were at the very time to promote peace and concord between us, and that we might look upon each other as friends, having given you no cause or provocation otherwise. Brothers, these Indians talking to these people, notwithstanding the mischief that has happened, we are still sincere in our wishes to have peace and tranquility established between us, earnestly hoping to find the same inclinations in you. We wish, therefore, you would take into consideration and let us speak to you in the manner we propose. Let us have a treaty with you in the early spring. Let us pursue reasonable steps. Let us meet halfway for our own mutual convenience. We shall then bury the oblivious, the misfortunes that have happened, and meet each other in a footing of friendship. These are original people talking to the Congress of the United States of America in 1786. This is telling you clearly that the original people are stating this is our land. So why is it that somebody is thinking in their mind that the original people some kind of way gave up title of their land to Morocco or the United States of America for that matter? They were maintaining title in this document that's on public record. This is our land, and y'all are being disrespectful. All right, I need to continue this because what time is it? I'm going to finish this. Brothers, we say, let us meet halfway and let us pursue such steps as become upright and honest men. We beg that you will prevent your surveyors and other people from coming upon our side of the Ohio River. We have told you before, we wish to pursue just steps, and we are determined that this shall appear just and reasonable in the eyes of the world. This is the determination of all of the chiefs of the Confederacy, now assembled here, notwithstanding the accidents that have happened in our villages, even when the council, where several incident chiefs were killed when absolutely engaged in promoting peace with you and the 13 United States. They're killing the people. They're killing the chiefs. This, once again, is the United States of America Congress. Although then interpreted the chiefs here present still wish to meet you and the king for the before mentioned good purpose, when we hope to speak to each other without either half-time or menace. All right, brothers, we again request of you in the most earnest manner to order your surveyors and others that mark out lands to cease their activities on the Ohio. We shall have spoken to you because the mischief that has recently happened has originated in that quarter. We shall likewise prevent our people from going over until that time. They're trying everything they can. These Indians are like, look, we don't want to fight. Brothers, it shall not be our fault if the plan when we have suggested to you should not be carried into execution in that case. The event will be very precarious, and if fresh ruptures ensue, we hope to be able to exculpate or show or declare that we are not guilty of wrongdoing ourselves, and shall most assuredly with our limited force be obliged to defend those rights and privileges which have been transmitted to us by our ancestors. Listen, I told y'all this land to this day of the Americas is still in land patents in the name of the original people of the land. Not Morocco, not El Morocco, not El Mexim, not Madrid, not none of that, but the original people. And if we should be thereby reduced to misfortunes, the world will pity us. And when they think of the amicable proposals we now make to prevent the unnecessary effusion of blood, these are our thoughts and from resolves, and we earnestly desire that you will transmit to us as soon as possible your answers, be it what it may. Once again, done at our Confederate Council fire at the Huron Village near the mouth of Detroit River, December 18th, 1786. And it's got all of these nations: Huron, Taiwanese, Delawares, Ottawas, Chippewas, Putinanese, I'm butchering his name, Putinanese, all right, Trishwees, and the Cherokees and the Wabash Confederates. Now, I'm reading those names because what you have to understand is that, once again, those treaties are in the name of the original people. If you calling yourself Moore or any of these other titles, you don't have access to this. They want to claim, and this is why I say we have to know who's who, because there are a group of people coming in here and claiming to be the original people, or we with them. And I'm not trying to diminish anything that's going on, especially when we talk about Noble Drew Ali. I get it. He was trying to free melanated people, but at the same time, there were a group of people that came into this land and enslaved the original people, and those were melanated people. Melanated people enslaving another group of melanated people. Now, the other thing that I want to go into when I talk about contracts is that when we're talking about a name, you've got to understand that, again, a name is a contract. When you claim to be that name, then you take on that contract. So let me give you an example. You need to understand what the term minority means. And I was just watching this session where some woman was talking about how they'll call us minorities as though we are the fewer in number. Let's make it clear. The term minority deals with a status. All right. The term minority deals with a status. What you talking about, Diva? What you talking about to deal with a status? Minority means fewer in number, like major, minor. No, that's not what it means. So I'm going to give you an example of what it means. All right. What do they call someone who does not have, who's not of age, under the age of 18, who can't vote? They call them a minor. All right. A minor. Minor meaning someone who doesn't have legal standing, someone who cannot vote, someone who is immature, someone who's an imbecile. You don't have the intelligence to be able to stand. So now, when they call you a minority, and you're thinking it means fewer in number, no, it means someone who does not have legal standing, someone who does not have the right to vote, someone who is ignorant, an imbecile. So when they on the news, look at all these minorities out here picketing and rioting, and look at all these imbeciles, these people who don't have legal standing, these ignorant people out here picketing and rioting. Minorities. What is your status? You have no legal standing. So you call yourself a minority, then that's what it means. Oh, this being without legal standing. Same thing when you're talking about black. Remember, the term black has nothing to do with skin color. It deals with a legal status. The moment you call yourself black, you have declared yourself as a dead being, a dead person. Well, what is a person? Because some of you are not understanding law, and that's where one of our biggest issues is in this country, whether you be melanated or non-melanated, but especially you people who calling yourself black, you need to understand that is a contract. And when you accept it, you said, I have no legal standing. You've declared yourself as a dead person. Well, of course, we've got all this, black power and black this and Black Lives Matters and black, and I get it. Y'all trying to take pride in that term. The problem is that there is a spiritual contract with these terms as well. There's a spiritual contract with these terms as well. Every letter is its own word. And when you put these letters together, these words, you have created a contract. And the problem is that we don't understand the spiritual ramifications of the contracts that we accept. And black is one of those. I went over what the term black actually means. You can find it in the videos. Please go check the videos where I speak about specifically what the term means. If you want to keep taking it on, that's fine. But I, again, encourage you to recognize that every letter has a vibratory frequency. And just because you don't know, that doesn't mean that the cells in your body that have been here before don't know. They know. And every time you take on a term, you are cursing yourself. Because every other being in your vessel knows what these terms are but you. All right. Getting on with this. Names of contracts. So the fact that a lot of us are indigenous to this land, the vast majority of us are indigenous to this land, and we're taking on other titles, then we're putting contracts on ourselves that we have to serve. Because when you speak something, when you speak a contract, then that is law. Every time you open your mouth, you are creating a law. What you say must be. Because you don't know you're a God. You don't know you're a God. And you're speaking out all these laws, and then you're upset with everybody else in the world because you spoke a law. And you don't understand the ramifications of the laws that you have spoken. This is why we have to understand what these words are, what these terms are that we're taking on. Now, I spoke about how as melanated people, we don't understand who we are. There are people who know clearly and for certain who we are. They know clearly and for certain who we are. So their thing is to get you to make a claim and say things and wield your power in ways that benefit them. Why do you do it? Because you don't know. You're clueless about who you are. They know. They know who you are. So what you do, and who is they? I mean, going into they, who they are, just know that those people playing the game at a higher level than you. They know exactly who you are. So as soon as you open your mouth, you as a God create a contract. Now, you have all of these inheritance of the land. They know that they can't do anything with the land unless you open your mouth and make a declaration about it. Okay? How does that work? How does that work? When you say things like, yeah, this is Al Morocco, Al Maxim, this is Madrid. When you're saying that, you're giving your property or your inheritance a title. And as soon as you give it that title, you've created a contract, first of all. As soon as you come out of your mouth saying it, you created a contract. Now that gives them the right to whoever that title belongs to. Remember, Morocco, it already belongs to somebody. You look up the term Morocco, you can't even find the term Al Morocco. You can't find that. You find El Morocco. That was a restaurant owned by somebody in New York. But I'm going to look up Morocco because it's already owned. So as soon as you start calling this Morocco or Al Morocco or whatever, then what you've done is you have turned over title of it to somebody else. And then you wonder why you keep getting stepped on because you don't know who you are. And then, people running around here calling themselves Moors and they're flying this flag, this red flag with the green star on it. Do we know who that belongs to? Yeah, Morocco is the westernmost country in the Maghreb region of North America, or North Africa, excuse me. North Africa is what it says. It overlooks the Mediterranean Sea to the north. It goes on to say Morocco also claims the Spanish exclaves Melilla, Peña de Velez, all right, and several small Spanish-controlled islands off the coast. All right, that's Morocco. In Al Morocco, again, they fly in the same flag. And then as soon as you call it Morocco, but do you know who really controls the kingdom of Morocco? Do you really know? Britain. So go ahead and keep calling it some other name. And then you give control of your territory to somebody else. Even if you're talking about, people want to call themselves Moorish or Moorish American. That name is under an incorporated company. Who is incorporated under? The United States. Anytime somebody incorporates under the United States, that means that they have given control of that organization to the United States. Well, who is that? Britain. So what I'm saying to you is, watch what you're calling yourself. Watch what you're calling the land. Watch what you're saying out of your mouth, because you are creating contracts as a God, as an owner of this land, and you're giving over title to something that belongs to you. And by the time you wake up, you will have given it away already. So we want to watch what we're saying and what's coming out of our mouth. If I don't have any questions or comments, I'm going to get out of here because I got to get to my class. Let me see who's in the house. Walter, Davis. Thank you for joining us. Who else is here? Platinum, Sunset, Hair Health. All right. So listen, I want to thank you all for joining me today. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Who else? Okay. Y'all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you all have found some good information from this. I have more coming up. We're going to be back Friday. Friday, I'm talking about... Friday, I'm going to go over the woman and the man and some molecular structure. All right, it's going to be fun. I hope you all join me. I'm yours truly, Diva Laree. I'm going to get up out of here. All my students, load up in the UNA University. And also, I want y'all to be here Friday, because Friday, I'm doing something special for my students. I love y'all. Diva Laree, I'm out of here. Thank you. Bye. Wonder if I can get this thing up.